Battery technology just kind of seems to be evolving really quick, and I've always been kind of a fan with Pecron, mainly because I was so impressed with their previous generation models because they just overperformed. I've checked out 1000-watt model, 1500-watt model, 2000-watt model. In fact, you guys probably think this looks familiar if you have been following the whole power station saga. This thing looks a lot like the E3000 model that had a 2000-watt ability with a 3 kilowatt capacity. However, this is the E2000 LFP. And if you guys don't know, LFP means lots of freaking power. Okay, I'm kidding. It's lithium iron phosphate, but okay, it sounded better in my head. What's up YouTube, Jason here with Byte My Bits, and in today's video I want to talk about this latest power station from Pecron, and then I want to do something that they really probably don't recommend I do, but I'm waiting until this day. I'm waiting until this day to do it just because I might actually break it. I hope I don't, but it's possible. And I want to be clear here, if I start a fire today, I assume absolutely no responsibility for my actions. I blame Pecron. Pecron, this is your fault. I'm kidding, but seriously, do not do this at home. Just in case anything really bad happens, I want to get past like the review part of this video before I get to the mad scientist part. So like I said, this is the Pecron E2000 LFP, or lithium iron phosphate version. That's right, this runs lithium iron phosphate. It's big, it's huge, it weighs 48.5 pounds. It has a 1,920 watt-hour capacity, and it can handle up to 2,000 watts. Little side note here, this thing is pretty particular when it comes to 2,000 watt. One of the reasons why I actually really liked some of my old Pecrons is because, you know, their max wattage was more of a suggestion. Like 1,500 watts, I would run 1,800 watts, and it seemed to be okay for probably 3 or 4 minutes. This one, it's like, nope, 2,000 watts, you're done. To be clear, that's not a bad thing. That's good. I'm sure there's reasons for that. Probably has a lot to do with the battery type. I don't know. But with the lithium iron phosphate, you can do up to 3,500 cycles and still see 80% of your capacity. So there's that. Also, this one is expandable, which I'm going to touch base on a whole lot more later on. But this one is expandable. I'm going to leave that open. You can add up to 2 additional batteries to this to get a total of 8 kilowatt hours worth of capacity. If you don't math, that's 3 kilowatt hours per pack. To clarify, you're not getting another power station, you're actually literally just buying like a battery with the special Pecron connector. I don't know if it's a special Pecron connector, but I'm just gonna say it. Now at 2,000 watts, technically it can handle, it says up to 4,000 watts surge. Bear in mind, surge is way different than pushing it past its actual rated ability. So if I'm trying to pull like 2,100 or 2,200 watts with a resistive load like a space heater, it's not gonna be able to handle that. But if let's say I kick on a compressor or something and it goes to 25 or 3,000, then it should be able to handle that. With the Pecron E2000 LFP, you get 16 total different types of power outputs. You're only going to get 6 of those on AC. These are each rated for up to 2,000 watts per port, but not more than 2,000 watts total for the entire unit. And then over here, you're going to get yourself 3 USB Type A ports, 4 USB Type A ports, and 2 USB Type C ports. One of those USB-C ports can handle 100 watt, and the other one can handle 18 watt. 3 of those standard USB Type A ports are just the standard 5 volt 2 amp, but one of them does handle up to 18 watts. And on the top, you have 2 DC barrel connectors right there, and a standard cigarette lighter port. And something to take note here is that these are all regulated DC outputs. And something to note here is that these are regulated DC outputs, so if you're running something that specifically needs a regulated DC output, this would work for you. Now for the inputs, that's where things start to get a little hairy for me in today's battery market, power station market. Basically, this thing still needs a power brick. And not just like a normal size power brick, but a large power brick, which is actually pretty consistent. Look at this. It's pretty consistent with all previous versions or other existing versions of the Pecron power stations. It needs this power brick. and it's a big one. This thing can put out 600 watts worth of charging. It has an output voltage of 42 volts, and you can actually use 2 of these at the same time if you want. It only comes with 1, but you can use 2. The Pecron E2000 LFP actually has 3 MPPT controllers, 2 big boys handling the 600 watt, and then a small one that allows us to charge from something like a cigarette lighter in your car, or a small like 12 to 18 volt source. And you can even combine them all together. Let's say 2 600 watt plus the 100 watt DC in, which is gonna be this top one right here. And these are the 2 primary inputs. You can combine them all together for a total of 1,300 watts worth of charging, giving you a full like 0 to 100% charge in about 2 hours. And this is really where it kind of loses me, because a lot of devices that I've been reviewing and checking out lately, some of the videos you might have seen, they don't have these anymore. Which doesn't inherently make it bad, it's just now a new comparison thing. It's like, well, other batteries you can just plug a standard computer cable into. You don't need a power brick. This battery needs a power brick, or 2. 1 power brick is only gonna give you 600 watts worth of charging. 2 of them will give you 1,200 watts worth of charging. Okay, neat. But I have other batteries that can take a single AC input and charge up to 1,800 watts without using a power brick. Yes, those units cost more. This is definitely more budget friendly than the one that I'm comparing it to. I just want to lay that out. I am comparing something that cost way more. Well, a little bit more, like $200 to $300 more versus this, and you can get faster charging without the actual brick. Anyway, with charging, this one does have a high temp and a low temp protection built into it. So if it's too cold or too hot, it will not charge. And I just remembered that I forgot to talk about the wireless charging on the top of the device. So 18 watts, I believe, on the top. You can charge your phone just by placing it on top. I don't just random, I know. I also want to talk about the accessories that comes included with the box. You get the charger. Then you get 2 of these. Actually, this is going to be an MC4 to, God, I forgot what these connections are called for the Pecron, but you get 2 of these to hook up multiple solar panels, because you can hook like 2 different sets of solar panels to this at the same time, which is kind of cool, especially if you have like kind of like an odd balance of solar panels and you want to mix and match voltages. You could do that because they are separate MPPTs. And then this thing comes with a car charger. So if you want to plug this into, it's going to take a long time, but if you want to plug this in to your car charger port, you can do that. And then live on video, I'm gonna unbox this for the first time, but it comes with this little protective case that actually goes over it that I've seen in a video, and it comes with this little handy dandy carrying pouch. It comes with this protective case, which kind of aligns with the theme of Pecron, which is really meant to be, hey, take me outdoors. Obviously, don't put me in the middle of a hurricane or a rainstorm or something like that, but I'm meant for the outdoors. Everything from the dust and water resistant front panel covers right here to this little pouch that they provide that should have like a little front access door thing. Did I put that on the right way? I'm going to go with yes. Ah, there you go. There you go. Allows you to access everything you need in here. Then you can cover up all of your plugins and stuff like that. So again, this isn't like promoting, like, let's take this out in the middle of a rainstorm. But if you do take it camping and it does start raining, you don't have to like go full panic mode and go try to save your battery from being ruined by just a few droplets of rain. Now, the 2 big MPPT chargers for solar input can handle 32 to 95 volts worth of input and up to 800 watts max. If you are charging this thing with like a standard 200 watt solar panel, it's going to take you probably 14 to 16 hours to fully charge it. However, if you're running 800 watts worth of solar panels, you're looking at probably 4 hours. And that brings me to efficiency of the AC inverter. To test this out, I actually ran 5 different discharge tests, recharging it and letting it cool down in between. But I usually like to focus on the efficiency curve from a lower wattage output to a higher wattage output. But what I quickly found out is that the efficiency curve on this pretty much goes from about 88% up to 90%. And that's about it. I ran my test starting at 560, 1000, 1250, and 1600 watts. And at the 560 watt draw, I got a total of 1,740 watt hours. Since this is a 1920 watt hour, that means I had a 90% efficiency. So at 560 watts, that's kind of like the peak efficiency that I was able to achieve out of this battery. Taking it up to 1,000, 1,600, or 1,250 watts, I was able to draw out roughly, they're all roughly about the same, 1,690 watt hours. So again, at 1,920 watt hour capacity, that gives me an efficiency rating of 88%. One thing this thing can't do is a UPS mode. And I kind of understand that, especially because you have this huge brick and it's kind of separate. This doesn't have any charging or UPS ability built into it. I have other batteries that do, and it's kind of been the new exciting feature for me because I feel like having a UPS pass through actual UPS mode built into one of these solar stations allows you to use this for way more than just a battery on the go. It allows you to actually plug it into something that you want to make sure maintains power no matter what. As a UPS, you can have it plugged in, and if you ever need it to go camping, you can go grab it. But for the most part, it's just sitting there waiting to be used automatically. This one doesn't have the UPS feature. You can charge it and discharge it at the same time, but that is not the same thing as an actual UPS feature. And that brings me to probably, I want to say, the most interesting part of this battery. It has this extra little PEC run port that allows you to hook up those 2 extra batteries I discussed earlier in a bi-directional 24 volt connection. If you guys are not familiar, I just currently happen to have a 24 volt backup battery inverter setup in my server room. This is going to be a terrible idea, I know. I have done some very basic, and I mean basic tests because I did not want to mess it up. Their user manual is like, do not hook up anything that's not, supposed to be hooked up. You can damage this unit. This is a banana plug. This is a banana plug hole. Can't really see it very well here, but it fits perfectly. I haven't plugged anything into this yet, but it fits perfectly. And as far as I know, there's nothing else on the inside here. I know there's other connections, but there's nothing else on the inside here that really requires anything. Let me show you. Take this, plug that in, and 28 volts, 27.9 volts. Look at that. There's no verification. There's no smart connection. There's no limitations. Nothing. Just positive and negative. 27.9 volts. 27.9 volts is, well, what I would expect out of a lithium iron phosphate setup that I just currently have in my server room. That's also fully charged. Do not try this at home. So this is my current setup. What I have right here is a Power Queen 24 volt, 100 amp hour single battery. That's kind of like my primary battery. No, oh no, let's just get right in the way. So that is my primary battery. That is what is connected to back there. Back here I got my distribution blocks that those go into chargers, inverters, and all that nonsense. And then I have 2 packs of 2 batteries, 12 volts each, that run and create a 24 volt pack. And those are connected, like basically piggybacking off this as the main battery. This is a terrible setup, and I have a bus bar. I just haven't finished that whole project yet, but I'm gonna plug that into there. 27.0 volts, so 27 volts. That's with all of the batteries hooked up. Go ahead and start with the negative. And I'm gonna hold this. Okay, so the left, kind of want to make sure which one's negative, which one positive. The left side of this is the negative. So I'm gonna plug that in. Plug that in. Ideally, okay. So far, so good. All right. Step number 2 of this little science experiment is going to be cutting the power off to my inverter, which I have my entire server rack running through, and then it's going to start drawing from the batteries. Now, I turned this off earlier and it was pulling, I think, about 1,500 watts. Might be a little bit lower right now, but 1500 watts at 24 volts should put me at about 55 to 60 amps of total draw, and spread that with 3 batteries, you got about 20 amps of battery. I mean, my setup is actually kind of weird, so this battery actually does more heavy lifting than the other ones do, but ideally about 20 amps. And with 4 batteries, I should get about 15 to 16 amps. So give or take, we'll see. The phone's going off. If I had to assume anything though, because this is such a small wire, I really don't think this is gonna draw more than like 8, maybe 10 amps in total. I mean, it's pretty small. We'll see. Let's turn off the power and let's see what happens. This is my little monitor that I have set up, and that is pulling 1390, 80, 60, 1360 watts. And then if we hook this up, let's see, 47, 48. Oh, I was way off. it's only pulling 4 amps. Oh man. That's hilarious. To give you an idea, let's see, this is pulling 11 amps, and then 12 amps, 13 amps. So again, lots of issues with this setup. 47 amps. I'm gonna let this run, and I'm gonna go make a new cable. Okay, I got a little bit better banana plugs, a little thicker wire, and then a different set, like thicker set of clamps. So let's see if this makes any difference. Currently at 93%, drawing about 1200 watts. There you go. 4.8. All right. -3 watts. Yeah, it definitely is not registering the output from that. It's sitting about 4.5 to 5 amps, and it's not reading it. Now maybe that's what all the other ports on here are for, but just drawing it directly from the device, it does not read it. So let's leave that plugged in. Let's hold my camera like I'm a crazy person. And let's see how this thing acts when I charge it. Oh. Okay. Ooh. Okay, any second now it's gonna kick the charge. Ooh, there we go. Holy crap. Holy crap, it's charging. It's charging way faster. Oh, snap. Charging way faster. Oh man. What is this charging at? Okay, it was actually going over the 60 amp, so what was it reading? It's charging at 81 amps. 8 amps. It still doesn't read anything though. 0 watts in and out, still 100%. Huh. I'm gonna plug it into the wall and see if it takes a charge from the charger. I'm pretty sure it should have went down to at least 99%. I mean, bare minimum, should have dropped at least 1% or 2 just off of that test, but it did not. So if you're gonna play mad scientist and plug into this port, probably not gonna get the accurate readings. And that brings me to the overall conclusion. After my little science project that I ran, I want to sum this all up and what I really think about this device. For starters, this thing retails for $1,500, okay, $1,499. Its main advantage that it has is that you can add on additional batteries. Like, yes, it's big, right? You got not really 2,000 watt hours, but you have 1920 watt hours. Yes, you can do 2,000 watts in like total load, but still, 2,000 watts. I have plenty of batteries that do this now. The AC inverter does peak out at 90% efficiency, but it's like 88% when you get a little higher in the usage. So all of these things are kind of middle of the road, really. I mean, it's just kind of like par for the course. Which brings me back to what I pretty much think is the main selling point, is you can add on additional batteries. 2 packs, 3 kilowatts each, giving you a total of 8 kilowatts of power. If you don't want to do that, then I think it's a hard sell. Hear me out. I mean, $1,500, you don't have a UPS, you have a separate brick in order to charge it. If you really want to charge it fast, you have to get another brick to do it. As far as outlets go, you have plenty. You got all the USB outlets you need. You have all the AC outputs you need. You can run all kinds of things with this power station, including just putting your phone on the top and charging it. Just by placing it on there. If it was turned on, it would charge. And it's fairly weather resistant. I mean, again, you don't want to be like running in the rain with this thing, but it is fairly weather resistant. The only thing is the inputs. I think that's what really catches me. Like, that's what gets me. Experiencing other batteries that you can just plug things into directly, just a standard computer style cable. You don't have to worry about a power brick. You don't have to carry around that huge literal brick in order to charge it. You don't have to get 2 of them in order to charge it fast. Experiencing all that kind of just makes me backtrack a little bit, I think, on my overall excitement that I had before with Pecron. I think moving forward, Pecron really needs to look at internal charging. Like, just plug in a standard, what is it called, D-Link or D-style charger, just like you would on a regular computer. Like, plug that in, have everything built in internally. Maybe having power bricks in the past was easy to ignore because it was normal. But now, it just seems like a really dated idea. And that's not even considering the idea that this doesn't have the ability to do the UPS pass-through, which again, like, I feel like that's a big deal. So if you want to check this out, I will link it in the description down below. It is still cheaper than a lot of batteries in this capacity range, at least ones that have a name to back them up. But ultimately, why I could ever really recommend everything that I just said, but still recommend something like this, is if you want to add on to it and you want something a little bit more budget friendly, you want to add on to your battery down the line up to, and you have a total of up to 8 kilowatt hours worth of power. Funny enough, right when I was wrapping this video up, I got an email asking if this was the final price, if there's any coupons or anything, and they did give me a link. I will link that in the description down below. It looks like it's for $89.94 off. So still over $1,400, but it's 14, 10, whatever the math is. I'll link that in the description. Well, guys, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, as always, post them in the comments section down below. Thank you for watching, like and subscribe, and have yourself a great day.